Hey, how's it going guys? Welcome back to another PS4 tutorial. So we have a new jailbreak for the PlayStation 4 that works up to firmware 11.0. And of course the previous jailbreak was 9.00 for the longest time. So this new jailbreak works on a much higher firmware. And in this video, I'm going to be showing you guys how to get it fully set up and installed. Now the method of running this jailbreak right now is not the most convenient, but this will improve over time. There'll be other ways, more convenient ways of loading this jailbreak as time goes on, and I will be doing updated videos that cover those more convenient methods in the future. So stay tuned to the channel for that. But this is just the early stages, how to get this jailbreak set up and installed. So let's go ahead and take a look at this here. So the first thing you want to do on your PS4 is make sure you head to your notifications, check your downloads, and make sure you don't have any system software updates that are trying to be installed. You can see I've got one here for 11.02. We want to make sure that we cancel those, so you can press the options button and delete it. Make sure you get rid of any system updates that are in your downloads there. Once you've done that, we can then head down to our settings menu and scroll down to our system settings and go to automatic downloads and make sure all of these boxes are unchecked. So specifically system software update files and application update files, those need to be unchecked, and that will prevent your console from automatically trying to install the latest system update, which would patch the jailbreak. So you want to make sure that's disabled. And just for good measures right now, if you head into the network settings and uncheck the connect to internet box, just make sure that's turned off, and then we should be good. So from here, we're going to go to system and system information, and this will tell you your current system software version. You can see mine is on 9.00 for the previous jailbreak. So essentially, you'll be able to follow this video on any firmware above 9.00 and below 11.02. So 9.03 all the way up to, all of the 9-point firmwares, all of the 10-point firmwares, and up to 11.0. 11.0 is the cutoff point. Any firmwares higher than 11.0 are not jailbreakable. It's only 11.0 up to that firmware. So what that means is that if you're already on a previous jailbreak like 9.00, there's no need to update. You already have a good jailbreak that's existed for a long time and has support. So there's really no need to update from a previous jailbreak. However, if you're on a firmware that's higher than 9.00 but lower than 11.02, then you can follow this video here to jailbreak your PS4. So if you're already on 11.0, then that's perfect. You're on the right firmware. If you're on a lower firmware than 11.0 but higher than 9.00, then stick with me here so I can show you how to update to 11.0 so that you'll be able to do this jailbreak. I'll put a timestamp on screen to skip this section if you're already on 11.0. But for now, let me show you guys how to update to 11.0 so that you can do this jailbreak. Okay, so if we switch over to our computer here, we're going to go to darksoftware.xyz PS4 firmware list. The download link will be in the description. If you head to this website, you've got the retail firmwares list here on the left, and we're going to scroll down until we find 11.00 and download that version right here. Now, there's another website you can use as well. This one here, I'll also put it in the description. PS4 firmwares, you go to the official firmwares, you find 11.0, and you download it right here. So once you have the update downloaded, we're going to want to put that on a USB drive. So grab yourself a USB drive, make sure that if you right click and go to properties, that the file system is either exFAT or FAT32. So mine is set to exFAT, which is correct. If it's NTFS or some other format, you'll need to reformat it by backing up any data that was on the drive beforehand, and then right clicking and going to format and selecting either exFAT or FAT32. Okay, so once you've confirmed your USB drive is in the correct format, we're going to go into that USB drive. We're going to create a folder in the root of the USB drive called PS4 in uppercase characters. And then inside that folder, we're going to create another folder. And this folder is going to be called update, also in uppercase characters. And then inside that folder, we're going to copy our update file for 11.0. And we're going to copy that into the update folder. And once that copies over, you want to go to view and go to show and make sure file name extensions is ticked. And then from there, we're going to rename our update file here and make sure it's just called PS4 update.pup, all in uppercase characters. it's very important that you get the file structure for this correct. Otherwise, your PS4 will not detect the update file on the console. So everything needs to be correct here. So in the root of the USB drive, you got your PS4 folder, your update folder, and then the update file, and they all need to be named in uppercase characters exactly as I have here. So once you've done that, we can then eject our USB drive here and plug it into our PS4. Okay, so back on the PS4, we're going to press circle twice to get back out into the settings, and we're going to go up to System Software Update and press X on that. And if you've named everything correctly, you've got the update file on your USB, it should show up here. The following version of the system software is available, version 11.00. So if it says that version 11.00, press X to go next, and then we'll accept the terms and conditions and update. And that's it. You just need to wait for this to finish installing and wait for the console to reboot. Okay, there we go. As you can see, we have installed system software 11.0. So let's just double check that. We're going to go to settings. We're going to go down to our system information, and you can see my system software version is now on 11.0, which is the correct firmware to do this jailbreak. Okay, so now we can actually get set up here to use the jailbreak itself. So this jailbreak works differently to previous jailbreaks, which all use the web browser to exploit the console. In this case, it's actually a bug in a network protocol on the PS4 that is used to jailbreak it. So a little bit different here. So what we need to do is go back to our settings, scroll up to our network settings, and configure our network in a specific way. So we're going to connect to the internet and set up an internet connection. We're going to be using a LAN cable. So what you need to do is plug an Ethernet cable. You need an Ethernet cable, a network cable. You need to plug one end of that Ethernet cable into your PS4, the other end into your computer. Now, I know this is kind of a little inconvenient for people because not everybody has a computer that's next to their PS4. Maybe you have a laptop you can bring next to your PS4 to connect it. However, like I say, there will be other solutions soon, so stay tuned to the channel for those other solutions because I will have videos on them. So for now anyway, plug one end of an Ethernet cable into your computer and the other end into your PS4. From there, we're going to select Use a LAN cable, and we're going to go to Custom Setup, and we'll select that. This takes a little while to load. Then we're going to select PPPoE, select that option, enter a random PPPoE user ID and password, and then click Next. And then we're going to do automatic, and do not use proxy. And then we should be good. If we press circle, we're going to hover over test internet connection. So the way that we run this jailbreak is we run a script that will essentially jailbreak the console when we're testing the internet connection. Okay, so if we switch over to the computer, we have a few things that we need to download first. So we need to download the GoldHEN payload itself, as well as the stage 2 payload, the stage2.bin for 11.0. These will be linked down in the video description. Big shout out to Sistro for the release. He's put a lot of work into getting this working on 11.0. The download is right here. There was also some drama about people thinking that he was charging for it. That's not true. He did have it on his Ko-Fi page, but you could just enter 0 as the donation amount and it would give you the download. So that is a, untrue rumor. But if you do want to help support him, I would highly recommend, if you're feeling generous, to leave him a donation for his incredible work. And then we also want a program that we can use to actually load the exploits. So I'm using my own program for this, but there's other versions. I'll leave a few of them in the description so you can pick whichever one you want to use. So from here, we need to put the GoldHEN payload on the root of a USB drive. So what you want to do is make sure that USB drive is formatted in exFAT or FAT32 format. And then if we go into that USB drive, we're going to copy the goldhen.bin file into the root of the USB, not inside any existing folders, just in the root of the USB drive. Now you can also take this opportunity to install any additional applications that you might want. So if you have any package files for any games or Homebrew or anything that you want to install, you can go ahead and copy that to the root of a USB drive as well. So I've got Minecraft, PT, the Homebrew Store, and Items Flow. I'm going to copy those also into the root of the USB drive so I can install it once I get the jailbreak running. If you want to know where you can get the Homebrew Store, which is definitely something that you should install first, then what you want to do is get that from pkg-zone.com. You can go to download Homebrew Store R2 and make sure you select the PS4 version. You can also download Items Flow from here as well. and download the PS4 version. So once you've got the Homebrew Store on there and the GoldHEN payload on the root of your USB, we're going to eject that USB drive now and plug it into our PS4. So next we're going to run the exploit. So we're going to run the program, so PPPwn GUI. We're going to run this program here, and we're going to take the stage 2 11.00 loader, and we're going to drag that into the payload file path. So we're going to drag that in here. Then for the config, if it's selected on Ethernet, then it's already on the correct version. If it hasn't selected a config for you, then you'll need to select your Ethernet adapter from the drop-down list here. So make sure you select the adapter that represents the Ethernet port on your computer. Then we want to select the firmware as 11.00. Make sure that is selected, and we are all ready to go. So what we're going to do here, I'll bring this up side by side here. So what we're going to do is click the Run Exploit button and wait for it to say loading. At this point, we can test the internet connection on our PS4, and that will trigger the exploit to run. And you're just going to wait a few seconds. It takes a few seconds, but you should start seeing some text pop up in this window. So we're just going to give this a few seconds here. And there it goes. As you can see, we're doing heap grooming, and then we'll get to stage 1 is memory corruption, I think. Yep, there we go. Memory corruption. And we're going to just wait for this. Now, it doesn't always work perfectly the first time. It may take several attempts to get this going. So don't be too concerned if it doesn't work the first time. In this case, though, it looks like we're good. So when it gets stuck saying scanning for corrupted object, that usually means it is working. So there it goes right there, sending stage 2 payload. And there it is, done. So we get the pwned message, and then we get our GoldHEN 2.4 B17 loaded. So that is it. You have successfully jailbroken your PS4 by loading the GoldHEN payload. Now, of course, it doesn't always work perfectly first time. Sometimes you'll get an error message that says, like, scanning for corrupted object failed, please retry. And you'll just have to click Run Exploit again, retest the internet connection, and just repeat the process until it eventually works. Also, what can sometimes happen is it might crash the PS4 and you have to reboot the PS4 and try again, but just keep retrying until it eventually works. Now, there is another issue that you can get where it fails to obtain an IP address. You can see here, obtain IP address successful. If that keeps failing, there's a couple of things that you can do to fix that. If you go onto your search bar and type in ncpa.cpl into your search bar on Windows, that will take you to this control panel menu. And in here, you can select your Wi-Fi adapter and hold the control key and select your Ethernet adapter. And you can right click and bridge connections. That is one way to fix the IP address issue. Another option is you can right click on your Wi-Fi adapter on your computer and go to properties. And then you can go to sharing, allow other network users to connect through this computer's internet connection, tick that box. And then if you have a drop-down menu, you can select the Ethernet adapter as the adapter you want to share the internet connection with. And then that will, of course, allow the PS4 to piggyback on your computer's internet connection. And that should help you obtain an IP address. So then you can just test the internet connection again, rerun the script, and you should obtain an IP address and you'll be able to get the script running. Okay, so that is essentially it. We've got the script up and running. We are good to go here. So if we switch back over to our PS4, okay, so now that we've actually loaded the jailbreak once, we no longer need the USB drive for running the jailbreak in future, because when you load it for the first time, it moves the GoldHEN payload or copies the GoldHEN payload to the internal hard drive of the PS4. So the next time you want to run the exploit again and run GoldHEN, you will not need that USB drive plugged into the PS4, and it will just run the one from the internal hard drive instead. So that is handy. So the USB drive is only a temporary thing. It's not required for the entire time, just the first time that you load GoldHEN. And then obviously if there's any new versions of GoldHEN that come out, you can put them on the USB drive and it will update the one on the hard drive with the new one on the USB. Now that GoldHEN is running, we can set up an internet connection and actually connect to the internet now, because GoldHEN will block system updates so that you don't have to worry about system updates being downloaded onto your PS4 if you connect to the internet. So we can set up an internet connection, use Wi-Fi or LAN cable, whatever you normally use, and just use an easy setup to get connected back up to the internet. So we'll just do this real quick and get connected. And there we go, internet settings updated. So I'm connected back up to the internet. And you'll see that if I try and update the system software, it will fail. So it says version 11.50 is available. It tries to get me to download it, but it says cannot download. So it's basically blocking the update from being installed or downloaded onto the PS4. And that is persistent. So even when you restart the PS4, the updates will remain blocked. So that is all good. Okay, so now we can take a look at actually getting GoldHEN configured here. So we've got a GoldHEN option in the top of our settings menu. It's also right here where the PS Plus logo used to be. So we can select that option and we have a bunch of different features here. We've got the debug settings, and in the debug settings, we've got a package installer, and this will allow you to install those packages that we put on the root of our USB drive, like the Homebrew Store. We can just hit install all, and it will install all of those packages. So we've got items flow, we've got Minecraft that I put on there. We've also got a few other things. We've got the Homebrew Store. We'll get that installed. And we've got PT. Okay, and all of those applications have now been installed. If we head back to our home menu, you can see we've got PT, Homebrew Store, Minecraft, items flow. That has all been installed. So that's how you can install apps directly onto your PS4. Next, we've got the cheat settings. I tend to enable show title ID for title ID and app version, which is quite handy. However, if you have a lot of apps installed, it can slow down the home menu. So if you have a lot of apps, it's probably best to keep that off. Then we've got our plugin settings. We want to enable the plugins loader. We're then going to go back and go to the game overlay. So this is all personal preference. You can display an FPS counter on screen. I normally have that enabled. And then you can also enable system information, show RAM usage, CPU usage. I normally just leave that off. And then you can also change the text position, the color of the text, and you can enable scan lines for retro games, and lots of handy options in there. Then we've got the server settings. You can enable an FTP server so you can get remote access to the PS4's hard drive over the network. Definitely a handy one to enable. I would also enable the bin loader server, which will allow you to load other payloads by sending them directly over the network as well. Pretty handy. Then we've got the Klog settings. I normally just leave those. And then in the settings menu, you've got a new option here called Enable Rest Mode Support. I would make sure that is enabled. So make sure that is turned on. And that will allow you to keep GoldHEN running after you put the console into rest mode, so that when you recover from rest mode, GoldHEN will still be running. So definitely a handy option instead of turning the console off. So we'll touch on that a little bit later on, but for now we need to get GoldHEN fully set up, and there's still another step involved. What we want to do is run the Homebrew Store. Okay, so you want to click OK to all of the messages that pop up when you first open the Homebrew Store. Then you'll eventually get onto the landing page. From here, we're going to go down to the Store Groups section. We're going to press X on that, and then go down to the Utility section, press X on that. And then we're going to use the D-pad to scroll up one page. So we go from page 1 to page 3. And then we're going to go to PS4 Cheats Manager, press X on that, and then press X to download and install. It does give you a warning about it not supporting this firmware. Just click yes. It does appear to work on this firmware despite the warning. So we're just going to click yes and let it install. And that'll download and install this Homebrew application directly onto your PS4. Homebrew Store, very, very handy application for installing other applications. And there we go. We now have the PS4 Cheats Manager. So we're going to run this application. And this is going to allow us to install all of our plugins, our patches, and our cheats directly from the repository online. So to do this, we're just going to go to the Update section with X. And we're going to go down to Update Cheats, Patches, and Plugins from the internet. Press X on that. And then Update Cheats from GitHub. And we'll press X and let that download all of the latest cheat files from GitHub. Over 3,000 cheat files installed. And then we'll do the patches. And that will get us 296 patches. And then we'll do the plugins. And that should install 11 plugins. There we go. So we now have cheats, patches, and plugins all installed. And we have GoldHEN pretty much running at its full potential now. So you can now enable patches for your games. So just as an example, if I go into the patches section and I press triangle to filter for installed games, and there is Bloodborne and PT, I'll use Bloodborne as an example. So if I select Bloodborne, I've already got the 60 FPS patch active. So So you can activate different patches. So you can activate and deactivate by pressing X. So I'm going to activate the 60 FPS patch, and I've got the resolution patch for 720p and the skip intro patch enabled. So those are some patches that you can enable for your games once you have the patches installed. And then if we exit out of the cheats manager, we can now go back into GoldHEN and go to the plugin settings, and we should now have the option to enable the game patch plugin. And that should be everything ready to go right there. So if I go ahead and do an example by running Bloodborne, you'll be able to see all of the changes that I've applied right here. So we get our 3 patches applied, 157 patch lines applied. We've got our FPS counter in the bottom left-hand corner. And we are up and running with the 60 FPS patch. You can see it's loaded right there. And it's skipped intros if we just jump into the game. Okay, so here we are loaded up into the game. You can see I've got the 60 FPS patch applied. We're getting a higher frame rate than the traditional 30. And if I hold down the share button, it will show me the cheats that are installed. And you can see I've got all of the cheats here, so I can enable the master code and then give myself infinite health and, you know, one-hit kill. So we'll go ahead and enable that right there. And then I can press circle and go back into the game. And you can see here that those should now be applied. So if we find an enemy real quick, you'll be able to see here that we should have our infinite health and one-hit kill. So we'll get hit here, and you can see I'm not taking any damage when I get hit. So the cheats are indeed applied. And then I can kill him in one hit. So that is kind of the idea with the jailbreak and GoldHEN and getting everything set up. You've got cheats built in. Once you have the cheats manager and you've downloaded all of the cheats, plugins, and patches, you can apply the patches to do things like unlock the frame rate, lower the resolution to get higher frame rates, skip intro logos to get into the game faster, and a bunch of other patches that you can apply. And then you've got the cheats, which you can easily access by holding down the share button and enabling and disabling different cheats for your games. Okay, so the last thing that I need to talk about here is what happens when you restart the PS4, because this is a tethered jailbreak, which means that when you restart the PS4, you lose access to the jailbreak. Now, all of your save files, your games, your apps, everything that you've installed will still be there. However, all of your applications that you've installed when you were jailbroken will have a padlock symbol on them, and you will not be able to run them. It will say that it cannot use this content. So what you need to do, of course, is set up the jailbreak again by setting up your network for PPPoE, doing the test internet connection thing, running the script to inject the exploit. You have to redo that every time you restart the PS4. Obviously, that's not very convenient. So what you can do is you can use rest mode instead. That's why we enabled that option in the GoldHEN settings to enable rest mode support. When you have that enabled, instead of turning your PS4 off, what you can do is just use rest mode instead and enter rest mode. And then when you recover from rest mode, the jailbreak will still be running. So you can use that setting in GoldHEN and rest mode instead of turning the console off, so that you can keep access to the jailbreak and you don't have to run it every single time. Otherwise though, when you restart the PS4, you are going to have to run the jailbreak again to get access to all of your apps again. And once you do that, you'll be able to load all of your apps just as you did before. So yeah, that is essentially it. That is how you get this jailbreak fully set up and running. I'll obviously have more tutorials that will come out showing you other things that you can do with this jailbreak. So definitely stay tuned to the channel. Check out the playlist link that is in the description, because I'll be uploading new videos and adding them to that playlist. And of course, once we have more convenient ways of loading the jailbreak without having to connect it up to a computer, then I will make tutorials showing that as well. So stay tuned to the channel for those future videos. But thanks for watching. If you like this video, please leave it a like and a subscribe, and I'll hopefully see you guys in the next one.